My name is Philip Max Perlman. I was born here in Savannah. Uh, let's see, you need the date? No, okay. 1935. My dad and my Uncle Morris came over from Poland in 1880, settled here in Savannah, Georgia, decided to go into business together. My dad's store name was Joachim and Joachim. Started in 1925. They built their business. They closed the store to go to war together and came back and reopened together. The store burned down in 1968 after a race riot that killed King in Tennessee in April of '68. We didn't build back. We decided to, everybody decided to do something else. I went from working with my dad to working for Learner Shops of America for about 3 years. After that, I went on the road, became a salesman that I always was through my dad's store. I opened my first liquor store, which I was in for 25 years. From there, I went, let's see, what did I do? I went from there to a company out of Atlanta called Zepp, which I worked for 25 years, and then I retired. I met my wife Ruby here in Savannah in summer of 1967. She was from New York. Her mother married someone here locally. That's how we met. We got married February 1968. We were married for 43 years. We spent a lot of time here at Mikveh Israel, almost 20 years here at Mikveh Israel. She was very influential in doing a lot of things for the synagogue. She ran the food fest for 10 years. She was in the sisterhood. I think she was president about 3 or 4 times. She loved Savannah. We had a great life together. She smoked, which was bad because she died May 11th, 2010. And now it's just me. I'm still here at the Mikveh Israel. I'll probably be here for a long time. I'm the head usher in the temple. I'm president of the Brotherhood. And I enjoy what I do.
Let me ask you about growing up in Savannah. First of all, do you have any idea why so many Jewish people came over and opened stores? And yours was a clothing store. So I've heard about the Tinker Tailor. I've heard about the Schmatza business. I've heard about the local food grocer. Why do you think so many Jewish people went into that line of business? And who was the clientele? Was it a Jewish clientele or was it a neighborhood clientele?
No, it was mostly neighborhood. It was where my dad had his store on West Broad Street, which is now Martin Luther King. We catered mostly to blacks. 95% of our business was black. And the retailers on West Broad Street were all Jewish. And on Broughton Street, about almost 90% of them were Jewish. That was in that era, I would say between I'd say 1940 up until about 1975 or 80. And now it's changed. Matter of fact, I don't think it's that many Jewish people that have stores downtown. I don't think there's maybe one or two. But I think people really enjoyed Savannah, and they got a start here. It was a very small community for a while, but now we have 3 synagogues. I don't know how many people are here, how many Jewish people, families. But I grew up at actually Orthodox synagogue at the B.B. Jacob, and we decided to come to Mikveh Israel about 20 years ago.
Let me again just ask you, because you mentioned about race riots, the relationship that your father and your uncle and then you had with the black community, was it one where you serviced their needs? Was it a friendly relationship? Were you providing a service, or was it just a good business opportunity because they really needed the supplies you had? And then what was your relationship like with those clients? And obviously it must have soured for them to have targeted your store, or was that just random?
Well, we catered to the blacks. We also used to send a bus out to the country to pick up people and bring them into our store that didn't have transportation to Savannah. We carried men's clothing, women's clothing, children's clothing, and shoes. Our store was a block long and 3 stories high. All the selling was on the main floor. We had a great relationship with all of our customers. We employed 40 people. My dad ran the business, and my uncle did most of the buying. I worked in the men's department. My mother was the cashier, and my Aunt Helen, that's my uncle's wife, she ran the register in the men's department, and Murray and Jack were the 2 sons of my Uncle Morris. They ran the shoe department. And when they first opened the store, they used to open at 8 in the morning, close at 11 at night. And then we talked them down to 8 in the morning to 9 o'clock at night. On Saturday, we used to stay open a little later because the business was there and my dad wanted to be involved, and so did his brother. Now, in 1968, when the big race riots were going on, it wasn't blacks that burned my dad's store to the ground, it was whites, which a lot of people really don't know. It took 25 fire trucks to put out the fire. It burned for about 4 days.
Did they target your store because it was a Jewish business, because you did business with blacks, or was it random?
I think it was random, because we weren't the only store, but we were the only store on that particular day. I'm sure they knew that we did cater to a lot of blacks, and a lot of blacks, especially ministers, got on the television and wanted to know, who did it, but we knew it was whites, it wasn't blacks.
I really have gotten off track, but I'm fascinated by this because I've talked to a couple of people about their involvement or lack of involvement in the civil rights movement, and I had people say, well, we didn't really have to get involved in the civil rights movement. We always had black customers. We always provided services. We always allowed them to work in the store or to, whatever. Do you, as a young man, I guess at that point, did you notice a difference between before the civil rights movement and the relationship you had with the neighborhood, and then after?
Well, before, everybody was a little more friendly. After, everything changed because we weren't there anymore. We left there after the fire. And we never had, we never really went back. We didn't build back. I went in, everybody went in that wanted to in a different business. My father and uncle retired. I think after the big race riot, I think a lot of things changed. And I think a lot of stores on West Broad Street actually went out of business that weren't already out of business. And things changed.
Tell me about the name, Yakum and Yakum. Where does that come from?
Yakum and Yakum means brother, 50-50. My dad and my uncle used the name Yakum and Yakum as a trade name only. On the marquee it said Yakum and Yakum. There was two men there, one wearing a hat, one wearing a Elysian hat, and they were both carrying guns. Two little guys on the marquee. You could barely see them, but they were on the marquee, and it was just one heck of a name. But anyhow, Perlman Brothers we bought through Perlman, the name Perlman Brothers. In the early days, most of the people that we bought from were Jewish. In Savannah, there was Kahn and Company, which was a big customer, a big retailer, I should say a wholesaler for us. We bought a lot of stuff from them. There was a lot of places here that we did a lot of business with, but we were one of the largest retailers in Savannah in the early days.
What was the significance of the guns in the logo?
That's and the flag showing America. That was the whole thing.
All right, so this leads to a whole new line of questioning. Tell me about how Jews, early immigrants like your father and your uncle, felt about coming to America and being American.
Well, my dad told me a long time ago that when they came over, they came actually from where they lived to Savannah, Georgia, and not through Ellis Island. They didn't come through Ellis Island. They came directly to Savannah. I can't think of I still don't know the name of where they landed here, but it wasn't through Ellis Island. Because I went to Ellis Island looking for them. And my cousin Murray Perlman told me, that's Morris Perlman's son, that they didn't come that way. They came, I want to say they came through and ended up at Turner's Creek, and how they got there I don't really know. But they didn't come through Ellis Island. They loved Savannah. They loved being down here then. In those days, it wasn't a lot of Jews early. But as time went on, a lot of people came from a lot of different places to Savannah, Georgia.
So when America went to war,
they closed the store. They went to war. My Uncle Morris was a cook. My father was a submarine chaser, which a lot of people really don't know what that means, but he worked in the hospital. And they came out of the war together. They came back. They reopened the store up until the day it caught on fire.
you mentioned that you grew up in the Orthodox synagogue. Was it difficult to have a business that was open, or to justify having a business that was open on Saturday and working on Saturday? How did that impact you and what you were learning at religious training through the B.B. Jacob?
Well, growing up in the B.B. Jacob and Orthodox, the synagogue was down on Broughton Street. Well, some days I would walk there on Saturday. My dad, they worked. In the early days, they kept the store open. Now, they closed on Wednesday half a day in the early days, but they worked on Saturday. I used to go to synagogue, walk to synagogue, and after synagogue, I'd go to the store and work. I started working in the store when I was 7 years old. And I learned all about my father's business And that's why I was successful in what I did in my lifetime, because of what I learned from him. I carried it on.
Where did you learn your religious training? Did that come because it was innate in something your parents did?
No,
Was it all through synagogue?
I went to, for my bar mitzvah, I went and I had a private tutor to help me with that. And I did, I don't know a lot of Hebrew, to be honest. I just, know what I know. I enjoyed being in the synagogue when Rabbi Rosenberg was the rabbi then, and it kept changing, and as it changed, and after I met my wife, it just got where we really didn't like it anymore, and we wanted to change, and we decided to come to the Mikveh Israel.
When you think back about your childhood, is there one specific Jewish happy memory? And is there also perhaps some memories that are not so good when you were singled out for some reason because you were Jewish?
I was never singled out as because I was Jewish. I never ran into that. But I enjoyed my my childhood. It was very nice. My dad and my mother provided a very good life for me. There was nothing I didn't want. I always had everything I needed and more. And I really loved, when I got married, I didn't even want to leave Savannah. I wanted to stay here because I think Savannah had a lot to offer, and it still does.
But sadly, as so many of us have experienced, our children aren't staying. What did Savannah provide you that your children couldn't find here?
I think my daughter Lacey, she decided she wanted to be into real estate. As far as she works for a company that does rental property. She has 7 states. She didn't want to. She graduated from Emory, and she didn't want to come back to Savannah. My son Lance got married, moved out of this area, and now he lives in Atlanta. And he's in the construction business. His wife is a teacher. My youngest son Aaron, he lives in North Carolina. He's a physical therapist, and he loves it. Everybody wanted to move somewhere else, but I wanted to stay here, and I didn't want to leave.
Do you think your children will ever come back?
No.
Tell me a little something about the Jewish Education Alliance. Did you belong? What kind of sports did you play?
Well, coming up, my dad at the original Jewish Alliance, which was on Barnett Street, my dad was a big handball player. When he came over with his brother, he lived near the JEA, and he played handball. I used to go there and watch basketball and doing different things, but since the new alliance has been there, I've been to the health club a few times, along with my dad, which he's gone now, and I don't go to the JEA that much. They don't seem to offer what they used to offer. When I was younger, we used to have something called a teen canteen. Every Saturday night, all the kids would go to the teen canteen. They don't offer that anymore.
By the time your children were growing up, were there activities and sports that they participated in at the JEA?
My kids didn't participate in any sports at the JEA, but they went to Hebrew Day School there. They all played baseball, football, basketball, all those kind of sports, but not at the JEA. Just local teams.
One of the things that somebody said is that there was a time when Jews really, whether they realized it or not, couldn't join other teams. And so the only teams that they were able to join were Jewish teams or through the community center. Do you think the fact that we are better accepted as members of the general community has in some way marked the decline of our Jewish institutions?
No, I don't think so. I think what happened earlier. When my kids started playing sports, they didn't ask religion back in those days, and that was early. That was in the 80s, in the 90s. People didn't ask. I think the JEA had a softball team that I was never really involved in that. I just didn't play softball, but I think people. I think people were accepted into whatever they wanted to do, and a lot of people worked early.
What schools did you go to growing up?
Well, let's see. I went to Charles Ellis. Then I went to Washington Avenue Junior High. Then at ninth grade, I went to BC, which I graduated in 1955. I went from there to the University of Miami, where I graduated. From there, I went in the U.S. Coast Guard, and from there, I went back to my father's store until it burned down.
Where, in all of those years in public school, was there any club or activity you wanted to participate in that was not open to you because you were Jewish?
None.
Do you remember any time where you were teased or taunted because of Jewish holidays?
Never.
Okay. When you went to University of Miami, even though it's the South, it's a different type of South than we have here in Savannah. Can you tell me something about the differences in the community?
Well, it seems like that when I went to the University of Miami, I didn't run into any problem of any kind. I more or less stayed with my own people. I joined a Jewish fraternity, AE Pi, which was a member of. I dated mostly Jewish girls, 99% Jewish girls. Matter of fact, when I first went to the University of Miami, I dated some girls that didn't go to the school. I met some girls that their parents liked me, and I dated their daughters. One parent in particular, her father had a big Jewish bakery there, and he used to invite me over every Sunday for breakfast at their house. But I really enjoyed the University of Miami, 20,000 strong, and probably about almost 60, maybe 70% girls. Wonderful school. It wasn't as nice as it is today, though.
When you think back about something about Judaism or being Jewish or traditions that your mother and father taught you, is there something, or maybe Jewish ethics, as you exhibited, they exhibited through the way they handled their business? What is the essence of Judaism that you hope you've now passed on to your own children and grandchildren?
Well, I always have asked I wanted my kids to marry Jewish, but they didn't. And I wanted them to, go to synagogue, which I don't think they do. And, wanted them to have a nice life and do well, which they all are doing well, and they got their life that they are leading, and they all seem to be happy right now. Hopefully they'll stay happy. But my parents taught me that a little more about Judaism is I always went to synagogue on Saturday, even though the dad's store was open, and usually after synagogue I would sometimes go to the movies and then go back, but I'd always go back to the store and work. We always went to synagogue on the high holidays, which we still do today. We had I've had a great life. I hope I can be here a lot longer, but you never know what's going to be tomorrow. But I don't know.
A thread that goes through our discussion is that whether or not you attribute it to a Jewish value or not, it seems like you always are giving back. I know all the, you don't brag about yourself, but you donate and you give so much of your time and who you are. And I know certainly Ruby always did as well, back to the synagogue and the general community. What is it about Jews and giving that you think is essential to who we are as people?
I think Jewish people give more than anybody else, really. I think we've always tried to do the right thing. I know I have. I know that I need to probably do more now, but I'm sort of just not really doing a lot, but I'm doing some, and I'm happy. I would like, my kids, to see my kids a lot more than I do, but they have their own life, and you can't help out. Once our kids got married, my wife and I decided not to say anything, let them do their way, and then when she passed away, they all came to me and wanted to know what I wanted to do, and I just wanted them to lead their life and not worry about me. I'd take care of myself.
Just two more questions. One is there anything we didn't talk about that you wished I had asked you, and here's your chance?
No, I think I have two big dogs at home, real big dogs that take care of me. I live in Mayfair. I have the two big labs. I didn't want to give up my house. I figured if my kids ever wanted to come down and see their dad, they have a place to stay, which is very important. Jewish people like to try to stay with their own when they come in. But everything else, nothing else I really can say.
For so many years, whether it was at your initiation or just because Ruby was so involved with the food festival, the two of you put on a wonderful food festival. And even when she wasn't putting it on, she was helping other people put on the food festival. Why is food so important to Jews? And what is it about Jewish food that identifies us?
Well, I think, I don't know, a lot of people seem to like the deli, what we have at the Food Fest. That seems like to be the biggest thing, the deli foods and the things. I don't know, people who don't eat our kind of food want to eat it once in a while or more than once in a while. And I really think that that's what brings such a crowd to the Food Fest, because they don't really get a chance to eat that kind of food unless the Jewish Food Fest, because we really don't have any place here that sells anything like that. We don't even have a deli here.
Is it fair to identify Jewish culture with our food so heavily?
I think so. I really do.
Is there anything, as a parting word of wisdom, that you'd like to give to your children and grandchildren if they see this?
I just want them to be happy. I think that's the biggest thing. If they can be happy through their life, I'll be satisfied when I go. And I love them. I just want to tell everybody I do love my kids.
Thank you, Philip. That was beautiful.
When they were in Poland, they used to go to this tree in Poland that they got apples off. They had to climb over a fence and get an apple and climb back over and eat it. And they had an opportunity to come to Savannah. To come, when they left there, they knew they were coming to Savannah. I don't know how they knew that. But
you said the name was Russian, but they were Polish. Was Poland?
No, Poland. No. They were. My dad. My dad was. He was a Polish Jew, but he was living in Russia. And he and his brother both decided to come over here together, which is kind of unusual. My dad was I think my dad was a couple of years older than my uncle.
So how did they find out about Savannah?
I don't know.
Did they meet people that told them that this is the place to be?
Well, Aaron one is grandmother actually brought him over here, I think. How about that?
So you related to him?
He's my second cousin. Murray Perlman's my first because Uncle Morris. But Aaron Wan is my second cousin, and his mother was a Perlman.
So, just like so many other stories I've heard, someone was here and then they paved the way.
Brought him
for-
in here, brought him to Savannah.
Brought him to Savannah.
It didn't come through Ellis Island. I always thought he came through Ellis Island. I was on Ellis Island, and I kept looking for it. When I got home, I said, Murray, why couldn't I find Jaime and Morris Perlman? He said, because he didn't come that way. I said, I took that whole road over there just to see him, and he didn't come. My brother-in-law took me there, took Ruby and I to Ellis Island. How about that? We came here to Savannah. They came to Savannah, and they settled here, and they did very well.
Oh, thank you very much.
You're welcome. You're welcome.